Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get singles for all your Force of Will and other trading card games, as well as these amazing patrons. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the video.
Hey there, Rulers. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to the Teacher's Lounge, your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast featuring myself, Jeremy Franklin, and up in that corner we have Aaron Miles, Josh Patton after a little bit of a break, and the ghost of Derek Muguneza.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, also conveniently Dark Alice. This little bubble of Dark Alice is joining us tonight.
It's a cute ghost.
So, and my wife Emily sitting in the chair behind the camera. Everybody
Hi,
say
Emily.
hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
No, she didn't say hi to you guys. She said hi to
Always
me.
said hi anyways.
They all say hi back, Emily. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you all for joining us here live. If you like what we're doing and feel like supporting us on the channel, you can go ahead and check those links down below for the Patreon, as well as considering pressing the join button there because it helps to support the channel. You can join for multiple different levels, minimum of $2 a month, which just gets you your name in the credits, all the way up through $30 a month, which gets you a playmat, a shirt, being able to make your own content here on the channel, all kinds of stuff. So please consider supporting us. It helps us get better equipment, get to more events, all that kind of crazy stuff. So we really
Never heard about
it.
these Patreon tiers. I want a shirt.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, I don't think I ever
Right?
got a...
I didn't. Shirts
got
for
these-
$30. Like,
I got
crazy.
these dope
What's
emotes,
What's the shirt look like?
Well, I mean, it's the rule. It's you can get either the Ruler School logo on a shirt, and there's a bunch of different colors, or you can get the crest that says Ruler School Graduate on a shirt.
I mean, I
I'm
have
graduating again.
the signed Ruler School. You graduated playmat.
You have the
from
original
Maryland
playmat.
States a while
Yep.
ago.
You have the original playmat.
I could get
yep.
a shirt to match. That's pretty
You
cool.
absolutely could. So tonight we are talking ban lists. So we have been seeing a lot of spoilers for this new set, the Decisive Battle of Valhalla. We did not get a ban list update for when Awakening of the Ancients came out. So we don't really have any tournaments happening after this set releases, at least as far as we know, although Josh and I are working along with a couple other people to make a tournament happen here in Michigan. More info on that as we get more to you. But we thought it'd be interesting to talk about what a ban list incorporating this set could be. This was brought to us by Oscar Rivera to kind of talk about, and so I'll kind of open it up just in general thoughts about, do you think there's a need in this current meta? Do you think there's even a need for a ban list update from what we have, especially with what we're seeing from the new set? So anybody can jump in on that.
Absolutely not. If everybody wants to keep playing Alter decks and let me take all of Force of Will's money with Gil, I'm more than happy to continue to let America do that. Thank you all for your contributions to my big fat fucking bank account, courtesy of Force of Will, and all of you that think that Keurig is a good deck. I'd like to just thank all of you personally for that. But other than that, yeah, we should probably do something about Gil.
Just savage. Just savage.
Man.
I used to think that banning Leaf Paladin was enough, and then JPK came and flopped his massive European muscles down on the OLS, as well as in my inbox, telling me that Leaf Paladin was unnecessary and Leaf Carb gets the job done. And I don't have enough evidence to dispute that, and I'm afraid that if banning Paladin isn't enough, then you need to take something more out of Gil. And Jeff Finnegan beat into me that he doesn't like banning rulers, and I feel like you need to take Laureate away from that deck, or it's always going to have something. I don't even know if banning Fifth Element is going to be able to do it. Like, Arrival of the Hero is good, but like maybe Fifth Element and Leaf Paladin gets the job done. But if you're running Leaf Carb, your Fifth Element's already less effective. It's a whole mess. I don't even know what we could take out of that deck. I do think in the interest of balancing everything, though, like you would probably have to hit like Lila, Ground and Air Supremacy, and then I'd have to like take a hard look at Shamimi after that. Yeah. And Machines would probably maybe need a little bit of tweaking on something, especially with the stuff that they have coming out next set.
Really quick.
That's about all I got.
Jacob Shaver, I think that's how you pronounce your name. If it's not, I apologize. Wants to know what the playmat looks like. This is what the current playmat for the channel is. This is the one that you'd receive. So it was done by Taylor Prinz. Super awesome artwork. It's all of these, some of my favorite characters, all in the like Ruler School uniform from back in the original playmat.
You got uniforms?
Yeah.
I want a uniform.
Is that a tier?
Which one do I want? Ooh, I kind of like
the uniform tier.
Jeremy, when are we getting uniforms?
We'll work on it. We'll cosplay. This is the playmat is if you join at the $20 a month, you get one of these sent to you signed. Or you can just actually go. You can actually just go to Inked Gaming directly if you don't want to support the channel on through being a member. Although we get more if you do it that way. You can actually just go to inkedgaming.com and just look up Ruler School, and they actually host the playmat there too. And you can buy it there, and it supports the channel as well. So, though the membership will get more money to the channel than anything else. So I agree with you on the last statement that you made there that we have to, if we're going to hit Gil, it has to be something pretty drastic, and we don't want to hit the ruler. But any kind of banning I think that would come out does need to kind of be, it can't just be one card. It needs to kind of be like looking at the meta as a whole, because if we hit one thing, it's going to cause a massive spike in something else. And so it kind of has to be a pretty kind of unilateral banning across the kind of current high tier meta decks.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if like if you just like straight ban Guild and like maybe the Alter decks and Keurig just fight it out. But honestly, that sounds like kind of a boring meta where you just have Keurig and then like three different Alter decks. People didn't like all the Reflect decks and they were very different. So having the same theme of deck across different rulers doesn't seem any better.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's actually pretty interesting. So when you were talking about Gil, like in my mind, I believe there's the one card that we can ban, and that's Absolute Awareness. Like if you want to target Gil, I think if you take out Absolute Awareness, then what happens is you have more focus on your stones coming in, right? You don't have the ramp into your flip. Also, when you flip, you have to make decisions. Like, am I gonna go for this? Am I gonna go for the stones to get me to the Ultra Awakening? Or am I just going to stay where I'm at because I'm currently being pressured by Jones or something along those lines, right? Like, decisions have to be made. You don't just accidentally get a Spirit Magic that gets you higher into your stones when you flipped early, right? That you get to search for. And it keeps you off of multicolor. Gil would have to go back to mono green without Absolute Awareness to do all your special stones, to do all your searches for that one color basic stone that you're playing,
true.
right?
That could definitely be a change to that deck for sure.
My current evaluation is a lot like what Aaron says. Gil's tier 1, Keurig's tier 1.5, and Alter is a giant cloud of tier 2. And it just keeps all competition for the tier 1 deck out. Period. Gil is tier 1
gatekeeper for sure.
Because tier 2 is impenetrable right now. And so like, and I need to make that really clear. Alter is not the best deck. No Alter deck is the best deck. Keurig beats Alters. Keurig loses to Gil. Gil beats everything. That is just the meta. So, in my mind,
a good player on Gil beats everything.
A good player on Keurig beats all the Alters. Like Keurig loses all the time if you don't know what you're doing. But I think if you ban Layla, that would clear up the tier 2 cloud and would open up the meta again, because right now everything under Gil and Keurig is just an Alter deck. It doesn't matter what ruler you throw into it or anything. It's a black Alter deck with a splash of some other color, and none of it beats what's going to win the GP. So if you want to actually clear this up, which I'm not saying you even have to right now, like, I think this is a very happy meta that we're in right now. But if you had to clear this up, you would actually ban at tier 2, which is weird to say. Absolutely weird to say, but
I actually like that on top of your Absolute Awareness.
I was going to say, was this in addition to
specifically like targeting the basic stone ramp, which was like, it was kind of cool when we like had dual stones. It's like, oh, like you trade off playing duels for this basic stone ramp, but now it's like we've got all these pseudo special stones that are honestly just not in a good place right now, especially compared to the monostone ramp. And it's like you kind of put that in the game to like, oh, you have to make a choice, but there's no choice. Like you just pick the monostone ramp every single time. It's far and away better than any special stone you could be running.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And this is permanent ramp, unlike the kind of ramp that like you would put on like a resonator body or anything along those lines. Like you can't interact with this for the most part, right? And like a lot of people would say Alter is the problem, but I feel like if you take Layla away, Alter just becomes fun. Like it's something.
Yeah, I feel like the hyper acceleration of the mana is really not only like kind of the power creep aspect, but also just the most unfun part of the deck to interact with, where I get to spam out a bunch of 5-drops, and it really just matters like, oh, if I open like Lila Alter and I didn't feel threatened enough, and like I got to use my Power of Immortality on my Lila, then like I'm just shitting out 5-drops for the rest of the game. And like
Yeah,
I'm sitting here on
absolutely.
2 mana. I got Athenia back down to 1 mana. That doesn't feel good. That's not fun.
Yeah. Real quick, I do want to say thanks to our new member who just joined, The Grouch, a.k.a. Oscar from the TCG Scrubs. Thanks, buddy, for joining and supporting the channel. We appreciate that. Enjoy all of your new emotes, because I forgot to mention that if you become a member of the channel, you get a bunch of cool Force of Will emotes. So
They're the
enjoy
best.
that. Including Priscia. So everybody loves Priscia.
She's
And then
allowed here?
Yeah, yep, she is unbanned in the chat.
She's unbanned.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think though if we're gonna hit something for Gil, so like I think probably the safest card that like still allows Gil to be played, but brings. It's really weird that we're talking about both Absolute Awareness and Alter comboed with Layla specifically because of these stone ramps. Because Joey Chilling of Rogues Guild mentioned an interesting point earlier in the Rogues Guild chat where he was talking about how in a game of resources where there's this free, cheap, efficient resource ramp, it becomes like you either have to play that or get wrecked. And weirdly enough, with the fact that there are no special stones, this basic stone ramp is kind of that. It's for both darkness and for green. It's just kind of uninteractable. They get to do it whenever I want. You can't really stop it. The way that they just get ahead.
And it's permanent.
Yeah, and it's permanent. That's a big deal, too. I think if you hit those two concepts, though, like if you're targeting Layla to stop the ramp there, if you're targeting Absolute Awareness to hit Gil and force Gil to be a different deck, then I think you also have to hit something for Kirik, because Kirik does have 3 months still in rotation, so we do have to hit him at some point, and I think the card to hit there is absolutely just Ground and Air Supremacy, purely because from the same angle, it's also this card that is like uninteractably getting more resources than you. Because on turn 1, they get a 2-drop that like they can protect. And it's just kind of like, for that really hyper efficiency, sure, Kirik doesn't ramp, but it's kind of like a
In
ramp
this
card.
sense, yeah.
It's kind of a ramp card because he gets to pay 1 to spit out a 2-drop. So essentially it's a single time ramp, but it's still... it pushes him ahead. And if you take out Absolute Awareness and if you take out Layla, then Kirik's the only one who has anything like that. And so I think you just have to take power or Ground and Air Supremacy.
Well, yeah, Ground and Air is a 1-mana card that gives you a 2-mana creature with a 3-mana stat line.
Yeah.
That's a little bit much, especially if you're taking... Because, like, the only thing that's going to be able to compete... Like, if you, like Joey was saying, you look at this and it's like, oh, you know, we're playing this resource game where, like, you just try to build up as many resources as possible. The only real counter to that is playing things that are as undercosted as humanly possible. And Kirik is really the only thing that kind of has that. I feel like a lot of the Chimimi stuff is, like, very fairly costed.
I agree.
Whereas, like, Ground and Air Supremacy exists. You know, because Kirik has that secondary resource in the strength counters, and they have Howell Pig to kind of help them manage that and continue to call stones while keeping up on their secondary resource. And even food supply is seeing play nowadays. I think that it's like a really, it's kind of like the niche market. Like Kirik is the only thing that has these understated cards. Like Viola is not as good as Pyeli in any sense of the word, and she immediately dies to the 3 effects of Heaven's Thunder and Dragon Palm that you get for a single mana.
Right.
See, and I guess for me, for Kirik, I disagree that anything needs to happen to Kirik, because what happens is when you ban the ramp of the other two, then what happens is that Alter Cloud stops being 2-color. And that is where Kirik is wrecking people, is just on the inconsistency that happens when you play 2 colors like this. Like the 10, 15, 20% bump in win rate just because you're playing 2 colors.
But
like,
Kirik wasn't losing to black decks before they had Alter.
I can attest to this.
Like Kirik wasn't losing to black decks when they didn't have Layla. So suddenly you take Layla away. Like,
are you sure?
Yes.
It was said that Kirik was favored against the Jeanne d'Arc Lucifer decks.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way in North Carolina, but that's because that was, I mean, no offense to the guy, I don't even remember his name. The top 4 guy that played Sam, Kirik versus Lucifer, he was a random. I have no idea who that guy was.
Dude, that's my teammate. That's Jonathan Ball.
No, I played Jonathan Ball in top 4. The other guy.
So you're saying there was another Kirik. I was like,
there was another Kirik in top 4 that played Sam.
I was like, dude,
I know. Me and John Ball hung out for like a week straight in Japan.
I was like, this guy's on fire tonight. He knows who Jonathan Ball is. What?
No. Whoever
I've seen
played Sam in
pictures.
top 4.
Yeah, I played against Jonathan Ball in, I think it was round 2 at that tournament, and I ended up somehow drawing, mainly because I was able to just discard his entire hand, and then I ended up top decking a Stemma, playing it, paying 5, and then top decking a Jean and having exact lethal on board. So, like,
Yeah, I think
and
Stewart.
that was after losing game 1. So.
I think Stewart and Holsheiser also top 8 at that event with the like mid-range Jeanne d'Arc that they called it, and one of them had to play Kirik in top 8. I think.
I think it was Holsheiser that did, and I'm
Probably. I think Stewart played Sam.
Yeah, one of them.
So yeah, Holsheiser lost to Kirik.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was historically, at least, like, I never really played either of the decks, but I was consistently told that Kirik was favored against the Jeanne d'Arc decks, which, like, I could
just
see
because
the
it's
Jeanne
so
d'Arc decks,
fast.
like, hurt themselves a lot. It's one of the decks that actually has reach, and that's why, like, Jeanne d'Arc beats Shamimi, doesn't have any reach. Like, once my life total could be 100, you have to kill me somehow, and, like, you don't have Heaven Sundering Dragon Palm. So, like, Kirik, like you're saying, Kirik's tier 1.5, and then, like, the Alter decks are keeping everything else out. I don't think there's anything that they're keeping out that beats Kirik. Like, I'm pretty sure they're keeping out things that beat Gil and nothing else, but I don't think they're keeping out the Kirik killer, because that is Gil. And the Kirik, like, one of the big things is, like, Gil, Kirik, and Alter all play so fundamentally differently. That's why it's impossible to build a deck that beats all 3. You just can't, unless something is, like, obscenely broken, there's no strategy that you can commit to that counters these 3 other
All
extremely
3,
different
yeah.
strategies.
You have to kind of pick
Yeah.
one and hedge your bets with a.
And that's why,
for
like,
the
Gil
second.
continues to dominate every tournament. It's a very low play percentage, so if you come to beat Gil, you're going to lose to everybody else in the room.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I think, like, this is a situation where I'm not necessarily one for preemptive banning in general. Like, people I know have already started talking about, like, oh, we need to ban some cards from this next set already, and I'm like, okay, calm down. We said that about Rachel, and she did nothing. Move on.
She really did.
Like,
Because
we can-
Scheherazade was there, right? If
I
Sherry
mean,
wasn't
but-
there, Rachel would have done everything.
Yeah, I get it. But, like, it's one of those things where, like, don't call for bans on a set that you haven't seen all the cards for and we haven't had a tournament for yet. But I honestly think that with the craziness that we have seen out of Kirik in the past with ground and air supremacy, that if you hit Layla and you hit Absolute Awareness, like, if you knock out the Alter decks to make Alter less of an accelerator and more of a utility card, like purely utility, not an accelerator, and you take out Gil's acceleration, then, like, you have to hit ground and air just so that Kirik can be playing, like, it essentially would be like having a bunch of decks that are running the 100-yard dash, and as soon as before they pull the trigger, Kirik's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna walk 75 yards ahead and then start there. Is that okay? And everyone goes, yeah, sure, that's fine. Cool, now you can
I
pull
do
the
want to
trigger.
backtrack. I do think Mono White Brunhild is being kept down, and that beats
Thank
Kirik, but
you.
I don't think
I
that's
was
going to
just about to
last
say
going
that.
into this 2-color meta.
Oh, what?
I said, all right, I said Mono White Brunhild, and then I said 2-color meta. So you tell me those don't add up.
What 2-color meta are you talking about?
Have you seen the spoilers?
Have you been looking at spoilers?
I haven't seen a single colored card in those spoilers.
I apologize. I thought I heard you say 5-color format.
What the
'Cause
fuck?
Dark out.
I didn't see any 5-color cards either.
There's a card that makes something 5 colors.
It's
But
my
no,
favorite.
Back to
Slam down the
Kirik,
movie
though, I
promo.
would say
Sure.
no ground and air supremacy, but I'd actually hit Playdead. Playdead would be the card that I would do to, because like
I
I
didn't even
don't
see play.
Playdead.
See, I've been sitting high atop
copies.
this Gil mountain where I can't even see the meta. Playdead has been a complete non-issue to me, but that's because I have Lorite, and that's like the only thing in the deck to Lorite.
Oh my goodness! Any Kirik player that tops has to play Playdead. If you're not
I'm
playing,
so
They're
far
only playing,
removed
like,
from
2
the meta
copies.
of you peasants.
I've only seen like 2 copies in the lists that I've been seeing pop. You just need to take out the. Okay, so here's why I say this, Josh. So here's why I say this. This harkens back to a conversation that I had a long time ago with my good friend Joshua Polk. Not Joshua Polk, Jeremiah Polk. I'm gonna get eaten alive for saying the wrong name. So Jeremiah Polk and I had a conversation about this idea of the problem, like actually considering what is the problem. And we'd harkened back to this idea of always be the problem rather than trying to solve the problem. The thing is, Playdead is not the problem. Playdead is something that makes the problem worse.
Worse.
The problem is Ground and Air. Play Dead, when you have nothing on board and it's taken you 2 will to cast a Piale Eli, I don't give a shit. Play Dead, when you played a Piale on turn 1, that's significantly worse for me, because if I try to remove this really expensive card that I have to try to get undercosted by, which is hard for me to do, and you go pay 1, Play Dead, bring it back for free, that makes Piale worse. The problem is actually Ground and Air. It's not Play Dead. That's my opinion on that.
I see
I'd be
Josh
inclined to
shaking his head.
agree.
Get him, Josh. Get him. I want to hear it.
I don't know. So like, I guess I've played the matchup enough, and especially like before we got into where we were to where Keurig is just as powerful as he is. Like his bad matchups are like where you turn the Ground and Air like against them. You know what I mean? Like so. In any of the green matchups where you just like last days the Ground and Air, or in any of the black matchups where all of a sudden, you know, you're getting like a life severing blade, or the blue matchups where your Paleoli's getting bounced, and now you got a 2-drop in your hand that you never want to play because Keurig doesn't play 2-drops. You know what
That's
I mean?
what we're talking about. You take out the
Yeah.
Ground and you play 2 Do you even play Piale anymore?
I'm just So yeah, this is where I think if you took Ground and Air out, I think Keurig might actually not exist, period. And I'm saying if you take Play Dead out, Keurig would still exist, but it wouldn't be as dominant as it is.
I see what
I
you're
think
saying.
Piale.
So you think that killing Ground Air just kills Keurig
Yeah,
outright? and
I
you don't
think
want to
so.
see that.
Like
That's
I
understandable.
don't know what else it has. There's too much life gain in the meta. There's too much
That's fair.
there's too much removal. It's cheap removal right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bouncing, which blue is completely kept out of the meta right now. But like if blue ever came back, you know, I think there's plenty of
Did you
answers.
read the same machine spoilers I did? Talking about if. It's when.
You have no
Play
idea
some
how
Deus
long
Ex-
we like.
play
We
Deus
were
Ex
talking.
Machina. Let's go.
We were talking about putting Machina in Keurig before we realized that rulers aren't entities.
Yeah, rulers are not.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those
I
of you
made
who
that
are watching
mistake.
so for those of you who are watching the podcast, you haven't heard this. A ruler is not an entity. You cannot remove counters from a ruler to put it on Deus Ex.
Dude,
You can take it from a J ruler, but then you'd have to flip Keurig. And at that point in time, you've already flipped Keurig, so why are you playing blue-green cards?
All right, here's a
Dude.
question. I put an astral counter on my J ruler. Does it die automatically?
No. No, I am ready with that card to just absolutely meme the crap out of it. Like, as I'm going for lethal, I'm just going to go, cool. So I've hit you with Deus Ex already. As I hit you for lethal with other stuff, I'm just going to put a million neat counters on all my stuff. This gets a neat counter, that gets
I
a
remember
neat counter, that
specifically
gets a
in
neat
Masters,
counter, that gets a
I was
neat
playing
counter.
Tom VZ in top 4, and I'm like, yeah, you know, Kitsune King. I'm like, Fox Spirit effect 3 million times. And he's like, in response, I'm going to do it 1 million times. And I'm like, all right, they all resolve.
Yeah,
Best
I'm
feeling.
really excited to be having my Deus Ex as my opponent goes for lethal and just put a bunch of scoop tokens on my own cards.
You get a scoop counter, and you get a scoop counter.
There is a market there for just weird
Yeah.
tokens. There you
Yeah,
go.
man. I tell
Someone
you what,
in the
it's gonna be
community
good
just
times.
make tokens for us or counters. Make counters.
It's gonna be good stuff. So
I need like a pile of salt counters. That's what I need.
there you
I'm going to pull
go.
out a
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
abacus mid-match. Like, all right, let's figure out what Deus Ex is doing this turn.
So Derek,
this
have
one you did.
that's a you dead counter.
Is it you dead counter?
Yeah. Derek, is there anything that we kind of haven't already talked about that you think, if you were to control the ban list, that you would add or take or even take off?
Ooh. So I haven't actually given it much thought as to what I would take off per se.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of a surprise question.
Right. I think everyone's covered.
Say Otherworld Dreams right now. I'll be at your fucking doorstep in 5 minutes.
No, I hated those cards. Otherworld Dreams, Severing Winds. I just hated. Yeah. Anyone who knows me knows that I hate Severing Winds. But I think the point's been covered about the ban list. Like if you're gonna try and adjust banning one thing, you have to also like take a look at the meta and be like, all right, how can we, if we're taking away this powerful thing from this deck, what do we need to do with the other decks to keep everything in equilibrium? So I think that's been covered pretty well. Now you got me thinking about what I want to take off this ban list though.
So
Has
I don't
anybody tried to figure out what would happen if we like took Sherry off with no puppet maker?
Instant playing
Okay.
that.
Yeah, instant tier 1.
Yeah, let's say with Rune Story and Ava still around. Remember they didn't play
Ava.
Puppet Maker.
Yeah, no,
originally?
Ava's gotta go away. I
Yeah,
forgot.
originally they didn't play
Uh,
Puppet
they
Maker.
I'll play
they-
Puppet Maker then.
They
they
just
still-
went back to the Puppet Maker builds.
That just play puppet mate. So okay, so here's what you would have to do to allow Sherry to come back. And I've had this conversation with quite a few people. So
So
if
alive?
you were to say we were going to unban Sherry, you would have to put in the following pieces. 1, Ruin Story gets banned immediately. 2, Jin gets banned immediately. 3, Eva gets banned immediately. All of those are gone again. And 4, she can't ever change her rune deck, and the story deck, and the stories have to be played at the speed that they would normally be played. All of that, and I'd consider allowing Sherry back into the meta.
I'm trying to think of what.
I think I would still
sorcery
snap play that.
Speed.
Let's say I'm not even saying that's a surefire letter in. I'd say I'd
Sorcery speed
consider it.
stories are there?
How many? What?
I guess just black tiers, right? Like that's
Black Tears
the
and
only
the
one
other,
that
the
ever abused
the
Sherry.
3-cost one.
Seed of Rebirth?
Seed of Rebirth.
Yeah.
Like end of your turn,
Yeah.
instant,
Yeah.
instant.
Instant
Here's two
Lorites
dudes.
off of Seed of
She was
Rebirth.
only around
Yeah.
for like a hot second with that one, so I forgot about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Never
I
forgetting
think
Mom Spaghetti.
I think that that would be what I would have to have in place for me to test the meta to say, okay, maybe she can come back.
Yeah, I would say following the same rules as the rune deck is just probably step 1. And then honestly, I had forgot about the Jenny, the Ava, and the Ruin story. Those
How do you forget
Yeah,
about
see,
Judy?
but Force of Will
Once I
has
experienced that, I
affected you
never
for
forgot.
so long that you have
Because they
forgotten what you were afraid of. You're like, oh, maybe we can let the boogeyman out, and then you remember it's the boogeyman, and you locked it in the closet for a reason.
Dude, it was
I'm
legal
really-
when I was playing in Italy, and it wasn't tier 1. Like
Right,
that's
because
what was
they were
crazy
playing
about it.
advanced format.
I know, but that's why I was playing these cards and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong.
Oh,
Or
does
degenerate.
anybody know what the So if I remember correctly, the current advanced or cluster format, I guess it's going to be the same thing when the next set drops.
Yes.
From what my understanding, the last top 8 that we saw was 5 Black-White Brunhild and 3 Hanzo machines. Although I've heard it is unequivocally Black-White Brunhild is running everything. Does that change at all going into the next set? I mean, if you look at the Black-White Alter deck, it's pretty much all
Current meta.
Valhalla
It's currently
cluster.
Valhalla cluster, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically a Valhalla cluster deck, and it's hard for things to there's no guild there's no Keurig, so it's hard to keep up with Athenia and Ruin.
Belial. Not to mention Belial.
Well, it's mostly the stone destruction.
Yeah, it's
I'll
mostly
keep him
going.
off,
It's mostly saying I have an altar. Here's an Athenia. Power of Immortality. Sack Athenia. Athenia's back. Cool.
yeah, but why
Lost
isn't
results.
Hanzo doing it?
I mean, there's Hanzo machines, but all the green
Yeah,
cards.
but no, why
go-
isn't Hanzo doing the altar builds like we had?
Oh, because there's no Lorite. So you'd actually lose
There
a
it
lot
is.
of power in green.
There it
Yeah,
is, you're
green.
right.
Okay, when rotation happens, green is gonna get really, really crippled.
Yeah, you're right.
Good.
Yeah.
I think all the green cards that I ran were Fair Spell, Lorite, Rachel, and you lose all of those.
Yeah. Just
I
you
love all
lose
those
disciples. You lose a ton of stuff when this rotation
Yeah.
happens.
But you still got our
Yeah, but
Huh?
Still got our win.
Lorite's already retired. Yeah, you still have. Yeah, now you have.
Which
7
makes the alter
disciples
decks even
leaders.
better.
Yeah.
Oh crap!
Yeah, it was
you're
like that in
There
Hanzo
is
machines.
There is no interaction with an altar without Lorite, right?
No.
You have to kill it with white.
Not
yeah.
currently, correct.
I don't
you
even
have to
think
kill
you
it
have
with the
destruction of the
dispel.
portal anymore.
No,
don't.
but dispel.
You have
Yep.
Unsealing of God.
And dispel.
I think that's totally it.
Someone talked about in the chat. Someone said, I think it's Mike Rance, and I don't know if that's everybody's favorite Mike Rance or just a person named Mike Rance. Either way,
The other Mike Rance.
the other
The
Mike
other
Rance.
Mike Rance.
Have no idea. He says, I have no idea how decks are going to combat Layla Alter post rotation. New Frontiers is triangle format currently, but I just worry about the future. So I don't really think about what the meta looks like post rotation because we're entering a new cluster. So there will be
Yeah,
an
we'll have
entire
new rulers.
there will be new
Better have new
rulers with
rulers.
an entire cluster worth of stuff.
Plus, we're talking about a brand new company.
So it'll be
Anything goes
interesting.
at this point.
Yeah,
that
the other
they
thing
just-
is too is
they
this is,
print
I've said
crazy
this
stuff.
before. I've said this before. This is the first set that has been, as far as I can tell, and I think, as far as we've been told, this is the entire first set that has 0 Jeff or AG influence. there is none. So this
Oh,
is
really?
purely the new, like Jeff and Angie, as far as we know, didn't have any say on this set. Like it was not in development at the time when they were when they left. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of this set because it kind of sets the tone for what the rest of the sets might look like. And so it'll be interesting. I do have an idea for, and I'll share it. Maybe if we have a little bit of time at the end, I'll share it with you, my current thoughts on how we go to Ataraktia and still utilize an extra deck without making it insane. I have an idea of what that mechanic could look like that I think people might want to hear about. I have not.
It's time to get on the motorcycles and kick it into hyperdrive. My life points are set to 4,000. I'm ready to fucking go. Got my star
counters.
chips.
Speed counters. Let's go. Force of Zero
Ready to
says in the
synchro summon
chat-
into Loki.
Force of Zero in the chat. Am I the only one who's somewhat surprised IU never got banned? My friend bought an IU deck from a former member, from a former tournament player, and that deck is sick. Unless you can respond to it, you die to 2 to 3 turns. So the reason why is that there is actually a lot of stuff that stops IU actually swinging in more often than usual, and she is one of the decks that can just get absolutely hosed on stone variants. So the natural variance of the deck has kept it from being the massive contender that people were concerned about or at least that it started to show itself to be when it was first released. And enough decks. The thing is with IU, it's really easy to win game 1s with IU. In a sideboarded game, it's really hard to win games 2 and 3 against a lot of decks. There's a lot of really easy ways to sideboard against it that aren't purely IU sideboard cards that just kind of can really mess with the deck's tempo, and you just don't get to do what you want to do.
Yeah, from a tournament standpoint, IU is as Ryan and Miles love to call it, the Val 2 of the format, where as long as you remember that IU exists going into the tournament, you'll never lose to it. But it's really easy to not see IU for a while and then think that you can get away with the disrespect. Like Scarlet's Agony would have had absolutely no place in my sideboard for the last year and a half, if not for the existence of IU. But I always kept in at least 2 copies. I don't think I've played a single IU. No, I played 1. And I didn't lose to it because I came prepared. And it made the whole year and a half of those 3 side deck slots absolutely worth it. And that's why I keep playing Gil. Like, you just pick a deck like Keurig. I hate losing to Keurig. So every time I go to a tournament, I'm like, I'm not bringing a deck that's losing to Keurig. I don't care if I get last place in this tournament. I'm not losing to Keurig.
Someone says, so with an extra soul, how does that help IU out? I don't know what you're talking about with an extra soul. All I know is we got an extra Chimera.
Are you talking about that new
That's a
yokai?
fair point.
You know, we're talking
That
about
new
that
zombie.
new machine.
Then you fall on
Finally, I got that 1-mana revive, a 3-drop zombie. I got a good target. Finally.
That new wall. You have that
My
new
favorite
wall.
part about this Alice is that there are 2 skeletons in the game prior to her, and there's a whole archetype of skeleton support. For 2 skeletons. Skeleton Horde and 4-drop Skeleton Horde. And Alice.
We go in places.
We also have the wonderful Ancient Magic. It's also an Ancient Magic, because there was a Resonator that had the Racing of Ancient Magic. There's so...
Didn't it say in parentheses Ancient Magic?
Fox,
or was it...
Fox still can get the new Chimera.
I have to check that, because I don't think that thing's creature type was actually Ancient Magic. I think it still said it in parentheses like the Chance did.
Maybe, but it's still funny either way.
It's an elf.
Dinosaur. It's everything. It's everything. It's a golem. It's the best golem that's ever been printed.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Pandora's
coming to town, boys.
Okay, no, Ancient Magic he was a magic life form / Ancient Magic.
There you go.
He was,
Jeez,
yeah,
Ancient
he
Magic.
was.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Excellent. My turn 3 Wanderer combo is now a turn 2 Wanderer combo, thanks to Alhamad.
Good old
Perfect.
things. Oh, the Chimera has to be green or black, so Fox can't grab.
Is it really?
That's disappointing. That's what
Fox,
the chat is
what are
telling
you doing? Hey, Alice!
Get out!
Can't even bring out the Chimera. Rip. So let's see. It's a dinosaur, Pandora. Yeah, no, I've already told Kaltuma that when he comes to Arizona, if he doesn't play Pandora and break the meta with Pandora Alice, I'm gonna be mad.
Did she do anything for golems besides mobilize them?
No. Well, when Pandora
What she flips,
the thing is,
she's big.
She flips for one, and you just can't ever kill her golems when she.
Yeah,
flips.
but she needed like 2 golems to flip. I played her at Worlds.
The other thing is, so the problem is that just like the problem is that they made Mobilize not an activate ability. Like if they had made Mobilize like something you could do during the upkeep, it immediately would have been way more playable.
Mana sink it, yeah.
But they were just like, nah.
And now we're just the sad.
2-drop 8/6.
What was that? Mobilize 2? You think I'm playing 2 mana before my? I don't give a shit about
it was
before my
Mobilize
untap, after
free.
my untap.
It was Mobilize free with Pandora.
Everything was mobilized here with Pandora. That didn't make them good. Changing the mobilize mechanic has no impact on Pandora's playability. It had impact on them outside of that. The time spinning witch golem would have been more playable, and I think that's it. That guy was like a 2 mana 7/7 that looted every time you attacked.
Savage. So let's see. We've got about 20 minutes left. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in the chat. I don't think there's anything that's currently on the ban list that I would want to see removed. If we're talking Wanderer ban list, I am kind of unsure as to whether or not Heroic Epic or Umir needs to go. One of the two. I haven't played enough Wanderer to really be able to give insight, but like those would be the 2 cards that I would want to look at in Wanderer format.
We've had a lot of talks about it, and I'm not a big fan of Umir, but at the same time, like turn 3 combo decks that with like the level of interaction that it has, where it's like you can either discard a combo piece, you can lorite it, there are counter spells. Like it seems like you don't want to make it so that it's too hard to win a game of Wanderer. So like when you've got your Eternal format, you need to say, okay, what turn is it okay for people to win the game? And turn 3 seems to be a reasonably agreed upon place for people to start winning the game.
Okay.
Especially since like Umir is a combo deck at heart, where it's like if you don't combo off, you don't have a deck.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, and like I said, like I haven't done enough testing in it to be like for sure this card needs to go. Those are just like if I was gonna look at a card in the Wanderer format.
Yeah, it's definitely like something that sticks
2.
out in a lot of people's minds.
Right, it's just Heroic Epic or Umir. It's fine. I get to play stealth K1 Mom and Dad stealth, so we're good. Like that's all I need.
I just wish I could play Persephone with K1. That's all I want in life.
Hey,
Literally
Derek,
all I want
we have
in life.
Energize now, so we can go Energize Face Down Executioner, play Look of Corruption.
That's fair.
It's. Let's see. So, Babatunde is asking me what new card. Oh, he asked all of us which new card has from the new set that we've seen spoiled so far has each of us the most excited.
not even
This
a question for
depends
me.
on if Elaine
Go ahead,
has
Derek.
the website.
Dark
up.
Gallus.
Oh, he
Dark
does.
Gallus is my baby. But yeah, I'm actually pretty excited just to see how I can incorporate that into Black White Brunhild, or maybe like just some other deck. I've been toying around with the ideas of like just like these mill strategies that are using I think it's harvesting season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking up some stuff with that. So we'll see how it actually pans out. It probably won't work the way I want it to, but if nothing else, we're gonna have a lot of fun doing it.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not
sure.
gonna lie. I've talked with the team a lot about this. Like there is a lot of graveyard fun stuff that can happen right now, and like I'm so hesitant to do it yet. But after November, as soon as EEU rotates, hell yeah, we're playing out of the grave. We're playing so much stuff out of the grave all the time. That's gonna be my extra deck. It's called a graveyard. But yeah, while Evil Elemental Uprising exists, though, I'm just kind of like making like stock moves where I'm just kind of buying these cards that I know I'm gonna play with in like November. I'm just like, here, I'm gonna get these, and I'm gonna get these.
Mr. playing the market over here. I'm actually the card that I'm most excited for is actually or at least so far that I'm most excited to try out is weirdly enough the new super rare Isis.
Really?
I
I agree.
One of the decks that I have honestly had some of the most fun with this format is like a control Isis, where you just like, I'm not swinging at your face, I'm not being aggressive, my whole game plan is call stone tap. I'm not canceling your stuff, but like I'm doing these like really unique combinations of like pinging for 2 damage here and utilizing this tool of this spell and utilizing this mode of this spell. Like, it's really creative and fun, and you get to a point where you just like slam out Surters for 5, and you're just like wipe the board, get a couple Sand Dragons, wipe the board, get a couple Sand Dragons, like that kind of stuff. But like that deck, it got a little bit of advantage in form of Shoe, but I'm really excited for this Isis because it's a ramp body that also combos really interestingly with some other really interesting red cards, like Dino Rush. Like, I'm a Dino Rush with a first strike Death Touch. Please and thank you. Like, I'm a pokey with that.
Good.
Like, there's just a lot of cool. The fact that she also ramps, and we know that the new Nyarlathotep is a 2-drop, and like the idea of the moon stuff, that just seems like it's gonna be really, really fun to play around in that space with. And so I'm actually really excited off of that. Also, Alice is a Sand Resonator, so I can just play Surtur, ping him for 2 damage, and pull out an Alice. So there you go.
Nailed it.
Alice is a
Good
sand. That's my favorite phrase. Alice is a sand.
So at Worlds this year, we played this like machine fairy tale hybrid, and I was very excited for this because Fenrir was my favorite card out of the first new Valhalla set. I loved everything about that card. This 4-drop, 8-mana fucking thing that just says like draw 2 cards, banish card. Then Fenrir's second form came out, and that became my instant new favorite card of the cluster. Like, I know I'm like the hardest spike you've ever seen in Force World, but I love me some bad cards, right? And I love Fenrir's second form. And now Fenrir's final form is coming to play. And I don't know what the J-Ruler Mega Fuck-Off Loki does, so I don't know how to properly evaluate that card at the moment. But I like the look of it. But if I had to pick a real card, I'm probably most excited for Brunhild Ultimate Devotee. Because that card looks bonkers. 3 mana, blow something up, make a 10/10, exile from my grave to produce black to blow up all your magic stones.
Your Magic Stones too, by the way.
I don't give a shit. I'll beat your ass. I got Brunhild. I think I need magic stones. I've been playing Gil. I got too many magic stones. I'm ready to play with 0.
There you go.
Oh, I brought my altar deck. Oh, I have, Athenia, and I can make it so you have no stones. Now none of us can play with stones. You took them away. I'm going to take yours back. Now nobody gets to play with stones. Oh, call a stone. Idiot, attack. Yeah, that's what my J-Ruler's doing. She's big.
Not to mention you have an Odin on the
I got Odin, I got a Brunhild, I got
an Odin that you can discard the card that you drew for turn to hit him twice with.
Yeah.
In there.
All in all, I think this entire set, like I mean, I pinned it down to Isis, but like there are so many cool cards in this set that I am looking forward to playing with. And the other interesting thing about it, and I know that people want more competition and more other, like, they want more tournaments, they want more competitive new frontiers, all that kind of stuff, and it's always kind of weird when set 4 doesn't have a major tournament after it. But it's also really kind of cool that we're getting all of these really, really cool cards to play around with without a tournament to like drive us towards. Like, people are going to start playing some really crazy stuff, and I'm really pumped to see what people build.
Epic Story's about to pop the fuck off.
Yeah, Epic Story's about to go nuts.
Oh, man.
Frank's probably in the bag. Like, Frank hasn't been on Ruler School because he's been theory crafting everything to make the perfect Epic Stories ban list on release. He's been studying everything, collecting data. He's in the back in the lab, like, writing that down. Like, what does that do? Oh, we can't have that. That's no good. Can't have that.
It's gonna be
now
good.
No ban list is in that. Frank, now you're obligated to drop a ban list on set release, so you're welcome.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in the chat, but I'll make sure to post it to him. So I'm trying to see if there's anything. You go 15, 15, and 12, 12. You don't need stones after that. Yep, you have a 15, 15, and a 12, 12. You don't need no stones.
You got lethal on board.
Any other kind of last thoughts about that? I do kind of want to spend this last little bit pitching my proposal for what going back to Ataraktia could be in terms of mechanics.
Yeah, I think so we already talked about the Machina and like how awesome like that card is, but like the Invitation to Purgatory I think is another one that I'm kind of interested in. Like, the card does a lot for not a lot.
Oh, the Milla card?
No, it's a planting beans with
the mill that gets you Satan.
Mill gets you Satan, gets you color fixing, gets you a second card because you play Satan in your deck, right? So it's planting beans, 2 cards in the grave, Satan in the removed area, and you
have
got
one
the
floating will
that you paid
one
to
floating
do it.
will. You have one floating will.
Yeah. To get
Because you have
Satan
to pay
out,
one
right?
for Satan.
Right. Yeah.
So like we've been talking about like different things that'll do because like the harvesting season is like a commitment on turn 1 to fill the graveyard with random. But like when we're talking about these grave strategies, like Invitation to Purgatory can get you just the specific reanimation without as much investment, that you need, guaranteed all the time. So it's like it's something we're kind of looking at. Like and plus it like produces the red when you don't hit a null stone, which
Yeah.
You know what we're doing with that card?
What?
What we're doing with that card is we're going back to playing Fox. We're playing whatever format Fox can play Griffin in.
All right, I'm gonna bring up a real point real quick. So Sephiroth, I don't like to speculate about what cards that we don't know what they do, but it's the Harvester Corrupt mechanic.
Yeah.
And I know Charlie at least has been a big proponent of thinking that the Athenia is gonna end up being like Sariel from Hearthstone, where you choose one cards get both abilities.
Yeah.
And he's thinking that like she's gonna have a continuous like your Harvester Corrupt cards get Harvest and Corrupt. And I'm really looking forward to playing with that kind of mechanic again. I was a big fan of Druid in Hearthstone. I loved Fandral, that's his name. I love that stuff. I'm hoping that it's something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of I gotta wait and hope because we've seen a lot of super rares, a few of the base rares. But
Yeah, we haven't seen. There's like a lot of cards that have been alluded to in card text that we haven't seen, like the Omega Loki, this Athenia. I think there was one in red as well, but I'm not 100%.
Nyarlathotep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also haven't seen. So it's assumed that every single of the rulers is going to be a resonator, in some form. We've seen some supers and some not. So that would mean that we're still waiting on Hanzo. We're still waiting on Loki. Is probably not It's probably a resonator slash potential J ruler thing
Slash.
or whatever.
What are they called? Colossal ruler.
Yeah, like pseudo colossal or whatever.
I just want to unfold my ruler again, man.
I don't think you're getting that. So like we know that Loki is going towards J ruler, but we haven't seen Hanzo yet. We haven't seen Fushi yet. I think those are the only of the 10 rulers that we haven't seen yet. So I would imagine at this point that they're probably going to be base rares. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
I hope Fuji like pulls some Millium stuff and morphs into a dragon.
Fuji does some.
Actually becomes a good dragon to pull off of.
I'm looking
Fuji.
forward to Fuji just being like at the start of game, replace this card with a different red ruler from a different cluster.
Oh, hell yeah!
So, yeah. So here's my proposal.
Bahamut. Oh no!
Just
Turn 1, tap Search Alice. Oh.
She's a dragon. Yeah! Nailed it. So here's my proposal for, and this is like the most speculative there is. I have zero information about what the cluster looks like, but just thinking about how if we're gonna go into Ataraktia and we need to have an extra deck mechanic in some way because they want to keep that style going. My concept was the idea of if you remember Ataraktia was all about these warriors and their weapons. Like, it was all about the regalia. It was very J-Ruler-centric time, about, like, beefing up your J-Ruler and doing all these cool stuff. So I want the rune deck to turn into the keyword armory, where instead of runes, we have equipment for the J-Rulers. And so my idea being that you have different generic equipments that you can still put in there, and then each ruler has their specific regalia that they can put in there. My other ruling to that mechanic would be that you can only have one face up at a time. So you have to like pay will to flip to a different one to like change what you're currently using. And then you could speculate that like different rulers have some modifications to that. So like Melgus can wield 2 swords. Faria could wield a sword and an armor.
I can wield 2 swords.
like things like that. So it's like flavorful. Like Machina gets to use his master rune, becomes a unit. Like his master, becomes like a unit. Rezard can like also make like tokens out of his thing, like zombies, like his weapons raise stuff from the dead.
Hell yeah.
I want to take the steal your opponent's shit mechanic from Rezard. He didn't make tokens. Yeah. He gooned people. He was like, that's my guy now.
I'm talking like outside of the regalia itself. Like
I want to brain control regalia. Like when you flip it, because I'm flipping them up and down. I want to flip it up in change of heart.
Yeah, like stuff
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
So I think that makes it that fits into the theming. You can kind of you still get an extra deck, and it limits the idea of let's just play Laven everything because it would be a master rune that like the new Levitin in the armory can only be used by Melgus, that kind of thing. That's my pitch. I think that could be a cool concept. I'm excited to go back to Ataractia, especially knowing that it's back before Alice Cluster, like it's like revisiting these characters when they were younger. So that'll be cool. And Ataractia is probably one of my favorite worlds. So
Yeah, but how much younger can Prisha get?
I was just thinking about baby Priscia.
I know, like
it's going to be like a forest
back.
clearing, and then Priscia in a cradle as a baby.
There you go.
Oh, I hope she still whoops ass.
She's gonna like summon Huang Long, or she's gonna be like riding a Huang Long or something, and it's like, oh yes, Priscia and the 1,000-year-old dragon.
That's my ruler. Woo!
Oh, instead of weapons, she could just have all of her beasts, and she can
She got
ride
the rattle.
beasts.
The rattle of summoning the beast.
Sam Comer says baby still kills on turn 2. Let's do it. But yeah, I'm excited. This whole set has me like every single time I've seen the new spoiler cards, I've just been getting more and more hyped. It makes me even more hyped for what going back to Ataractia will look like. I'm interested to see exactly what they decide to choose as the reprints. But also I'm already really glad to see that the community itself has just kind of realized that, oh wait, we don't buy packs for commons. We buy packs for like high-end stuff. So
We
it's gonna
want
be
that
okay.
sparkly shit.
I'm a build. I don't know about. I mean, I know Josh buys a lot of products as well. I don't know about Derek. I know Aaron, you're mostly a singles
dude.
buyer for like maybe a box here or there. But I'm excited to go build a bunch of starter decks for my locals. We actually started at the suggestion of someone in the community. I donated a bunch of my rulers to the shop to just keep on hand to have a rent-a-ruler program. And we've already had some people pick up on it where they're just like, oh, sweet, so I can play this ruler and then give it back when I'm done. So I'm excited to start like putting those reprints back into the community.
That was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bunch sitting around. I mean, no one's trading for them, so might as well.
Yeah, I think I saw a
Get 'em
post
used.
once on
Yeah, that's pretty
Reddit that was actually pretty cool. It's like somebody built 5 decks, one of each color, with just commons, and like they actually looked pretty fun, like just nice starter decks. But like with the amount of bulk commons I have, like the ability to whip out those kind of decks just to give, I think were pretty cool. So like I saved those lists somewhere, and like once somebody else is interested in this area, I will definitely be jumping on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that is going to do it for tonight. It has been a wonderful conversation, and we should look forward to another fun week of spoilers. I mean, we imagine that there's probably more spoilers coming out this week as we get ready for the set. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, if you feel like supporting what we do on the channel, you can check us out by being a member on the channel. Being a member on the channel is actually the way that we get the most direct funding in terms of the least amount of money taken off the top by the different companies that do it. And now finally you can do it at multiple levels from $2 all the way up to $30 with more perks as you go higher up. So consider joining us as a member on the channel to support us. But again, just being here and watching and participating is always really great. So until next time, though, this has been myself, Jeremy Franklin, and I have been joined by Aaron Miles.
I'm Aaron
aka
Miles,
Rezard.
and I'm tired of playing Gil.
Josh Patton.
I can't do anything. I lose with Garrett.
And the ghost of Derek Muguneza.
Just play Stemma, folks.
And we will see you all next week. So until then, class dismissed.